Hey, it's Shane the Creative, and welcome to my video. Now, in this video, as you can probably tell from the title and or thumbnail, we're going to be talking about the mean girls of television and film. What makes for a good mean girl character, why audience tends to love them, and if the mean girl character type will ever fall out of trend. And just overall talking about some of my personal favorite mean girls. So let's get into it. If you grew up being a fan of teen dramas or high school centric shows like myself, then you know that there's a certain type of formula that comes with these kinds of shows. And one aspect of that formula is character tropes. Like the lead protagonist, who tends to be the underdog that we're rooting for, the geeky bookworm that's usually underappreciated, the sidekick or best friend of the lead that eventually gets their time to shine later on, the hot athletic jock that everyone either loves or fears, and then we have the mean girl. Mean girls tend to be the female characters that has this high status within the school or amongst her peers, while also being unpleasant and mean to others around her. The cause of their high status could come from factors such as their wealth, popularity, attractiveness, or just being able to invoke fear and intimidate others. And despite the fact that they can be shown having extremely awful traits and treating others terribly, the mean girls will still end up being one of the more favorable characters amongst audience. In a lot of these cases of the fandoms I've been a part of, the mean girls has always been one of the most loved characters by the viewers, including myself. I love me a good mean girl. So why is that? A lot of it boils down to the writing and handling of this character type. So how does one properly create a mean girl character that its audience will love to hate and hate to love? In my opinion, showcasing vulnerability and character development is one of the most important key components to creating a perfect mean girl. Mean girls tend to have this natural badass element to them. They do and say whatever they want, regardless of how mean or rude it comes off. They carry themselves as if they run the world and everyone else is supposed to be at their mercy. Like they're really the main characters in their head, despite rarely ever being the actual main character. Like that kind of attitude and confidence, even if it's a facade, is one that most people can't obtain, especially in their teenage years. So it's something we crave and envy. And for me, who was a bully queer loner who lacked any confidence and self-esteem in high school, seeing these mean girls being the embodiment of something I could never dream of conveying myself, I would basically live vicariously through them. That's what will get me intrigued with the mean girl characters. But what kept me invested? Humility. The moments where I'd see these mean girls having moments of being vulnerable, showing weaknesses, being knocked off their high horses, that's the moment where I go from liking them to loving them. Rather than just envying them, I get this sense of relatability that made me go, damn, they're human just like me. I had this moment with Quinn from Glee after she had been kicked out the house by her parents when she revealed to them she was pregnant. With Ruby from Sex Education when Otis didn't share the same romantic feelings for her as she did for him. Minnie from Skins when she struggles with self-insecurities and with the choice to lose her virginity to Nick, who she then realizes been cheating on her with her best friend Liv. It's vital to showcase the struggles and issues a mean girl is dealing with to get people to care about them, to see them as more than just this one-dimensional mean character. To show that behind all the meanness, they still have a heart and experience hurt and pain just like the rest of us. Another aspect of creating the perfect mean girl is allowing her room to grow. Character development is crucial to any character, but especially the mean girl. They can start off as this one-note, mean, cliche character, but they should never stay that way by the end of the series or film. Going back to depth, there needs to be more than just a pretty face and snarky remarks. Characters like Santana Lopez and Holly J. Sinclair are perfect examples of that. In the first season of Glee, Santana is generally just a supporting character. No storylines, just there alongside Brittany as they trail behind Quinn, making insults towards peers and being just another typical mean cheerleader. Very one note, very surface level character. But then in season 2, we start to see more into who Santana is as an individual. Seeing her as she struggles to come to terms with her sexuality and her relationship with Brittany. She's still very much her fierce, quick-witted self, but we also get to see a softer side of her. Same goes for Holly J. She appears in season 7 and instantly from her first line she asserts her dominance as being the queen bee, the head bee in charge. Throughout the season, we see as she makes snarky, mean remarks to damn near everyone in her line of vision, but especially towards people who dare act against her wishes or had anything to say to her that didn't involve damn near praising her. Now with Holly J, we see early on glimpses of her being human and a bit vulnerable. Like when she developed a crush on Toby despite him being nowhere near to being in her league, and him later on rejecting her because of her meanness. And when she's embarrassed in front of the school by Anya when she's exposed for eating a cookie during a school fundraiser, where they were fasting to promote education and health in Africa. Side note, it's very interesting just thinking about this quote from season 12.
Somebody wasted an entire carton of perfectly good eggs. Did you know there's starving children in Africa, you dumb bitch?
Bit weird of a reoccurring theme in the show, as if Africa is the only continent that's experiencing mass hunger, but I digress, we move. But even with moments like this, Holly J will immediately retaliate by doing something worse, like buying pizza for everyone 4 hours before the fast was officially over just to ruin it in spite of Anya. So we'll have these moments of Holly J being decent only to turn around to do or say something mean that will basically cancel out the bit of humility and sincerity she's shown before. One of my favorite channels on here, Bree Breezy, has a great character analysis video on Holly J that I highly recommend. You can see more of the good and bad back and forth we see from Holly J in her earlier seasons in the video. I'm going to link it either in my bio or comment section. But it's only in season 8, episode 12, Heat of the Moment, when we see Holly J truly at her lowest point for the first time. After being fed up with Holly J's constant insults and taunting, Allie creates a hate group online named I Hate Holly J, where fellow students will discuss their disdain for Holly J and many wishing death on her along with the insults and threats towards her. After Allie gets suspended, her and Anya go over to Holly J's place to confront her and find Holly J looking as defeated as ever.
If I wanted to ruin your life, I'd create an I Hate Allie group, get 400 people to join and talk about how much they
damn near in tears.
How much they hate you and that they want you dead.
Showing how despite the front of her not caring about the hate group, that in reality it really took a toll on her. Before this episode, we already see Holly J struggling with boys, losing her spot on the Power Squad, attempting to find a job as her family goes through financial woes, so this hate group was just the cherry on top. We see Holly J so beaten down, and I remember it breaking my heart and causing me to root for her from this point on. After allowing these two characters to have these vulnerable moments, I found myself becoming even more invested in them as characters. And the best part was after these moments, despite seeing these characters develop more as people, they still never lose those aspects of themselves that made them the queen bees that they are. Yes, they become more tolerable and less of an asshole towards the general public, but they never lost their girl boss behavior and slick comebacks, which I absolutely love. They never try to erase their fierceness or turn them into some type of Mary Sue character. Now, another aspect I feel is important when it comes to mean girls are the actual subjects of the meanness, the ones who's being targeted by said mean girls. There's a huge difference, for me at least, when a mean girl chooses to exclusively attack one person and a mean girl that generally is mean and nasty to any and everyone. And what's worse than a mean girl targeting one exclusive person is when said person isn't even fighting back against the mean girl. That's when it's just straight up bullying rather than a rivalry or mutual beef. For example, from Kim Possible, Bonnie would be shown being crappy and mean towards several of her peers, but she especially has smoke for Kim in specific. But any hits she threw towards Kim, Kim will always swing back when needed. Or Allison De Laurentiis from Pretty Little Liars, who's shown being awful towards literally everyone. Friends, family, classmates, anybody could get it. Those type of mean girls I can get behind. But the ones that target just one specific person, one who doesn't even fight back, are the worst type of mean girls. Ones like Chris Hargison from Carrie, who would go out her way to not only torment Carrie but encourage others to do the same. despite Carrie literally doing nothing to them and did nothing to defend herself. Another case being with Zoe Rivas from Degrassi. Once she joined the show in season 13, she went out her way to be awful towards Maya. Just for fun, apparently, because it was no justified reason why she started coming for Maya's neck like she did the hour they met, really. Trying to steal her men away from her, stealing her fake-ass best friend Tristan from her, fake befriending her only to create a fake page online to slut-shame her and entice others to do the same as well. Like, she really was coming for my girl. Now, Maya did get some lickbacks and fought back eventually when needed, but still, the unprovoked hate and mistreatment towards Maya completely turned me off, which was why I didn't start liking Zoe until later on in the show once we finally start to see more vulnerability from her. Out of all the main Degrassi mean girls, I think she's my least favorite. Now, before I get to the next section of this video, I do want to remind you that if you're enjoying this video so far, consider dropping a like, comment, and possibly subscribing, as I tend to make videos of this nature on my channel from time to time, and I plan to make them more often. I also have to give out a content warning for our next part, where I'm going to be mentioning possibly triggering topics such as physical and sexual abuse, self-harm, things of that nature. So I'm going to try to give a timestamp to skip that section for anyone that may need it. Now, as I mentioned with Zoe, I didn't actually start liking her and her mean girl ways up until later in the season, around the time when Zoe gets sexually assaulted, which I will be referring to as aid for the rest of the video. In episode 23 of season 13 of Degrassi, we first see a passed out Zoe waking up half naked after a party with schoolmates the night before. She doesn't recall what happened, and it's not until footage of her starts being posted online of her being intoxicated with two unseen males filming her in the same room she woke up in. After more footage and a visit to the doctors, it's confirmed that Zoe was SA'd, and we get to see as classmates react in response to the footage. Many blaming and shaming Zoe, just the most disgusting things you can say to someone who's experienced something as sickening as what Zoe experienced. The entire storyline is one of my personal favorites, as I feel like it brings a very much needed topic into the light to show awareness and to start much needed discussions. The way this storyline was done and handled was really well, in my opinion, like even the lead up to it. I truly want to do a video dedicated just to talking about this storyline, to be honest. But yeah, I remember watching these episodes in real time, and a lot of the fans and viewers sided with Zoe, as we should, despite not necessarily liking Zoe up to this point. That's when many of us began sympathizing and giving Zoe more grace than we did before. I know for me personally, this was the moment where I started to become a little bit of a Zoe apologist, except for when it came to my day one, Maya Matlin. With that being said, it brought up a question for myself while writing out the points for this video, which was, does trauma equate to redemption? Meaning that could a character being victimized or experiencing severe trauma be enough cause for said character to experience a redemption arc based solely on the trauma alone? As I mentioned earlier, that for me personally, I need something that humanizes a mean girl for me to become invested and truly start loving her. So, could one experiencing some type of trauma or injustice be enough for them to go from villain to victim in the eyes of the viewers? I mean, sure it can, but should it? Before the storyline where Zoe is SA'd, she isn't really shown having much redeeming traits or committing good deeds. And even after, Zoe will later go on to commit one of the most, if not the worst crime committed by any Degrassi mean girl, which was having all the members of the Power Squad sell nudes of themselves, who are all minors by the way, to make money for the team. Then on top of that, to take a non-consensual nude of fellow member Frankie and threaten to share it because Frankie wasn't comfortable selling nor sharing nudes of herself. Similarly, in the case of Allison from Pretty Little Liars, where we see the awful actions and treatment from Allison in flashbacks, as she's still missing from the very first episode. One of the worst being her blinding Jenna, then making Toby take the blame. But then she's revealed to be alive and tell the girls how she was attacked and buried alive.
I was screaming, God, can't you see me?
Can't you see me breathing? Look at me.
One of the best scenes featured in season 4, episode 24. And with that being said, all the terrible things she's done just flies right out the window because of how awful I felt for that poor girl in the moment. Like, literally, this is the moment that I started to like her rather than dislike her, like I had for 4 seasons of the show up to this point. And I wasn't the only one. If you look up this scene on YouTube alone, you'll see so many people in the comments talk about how this was the turning point on their negative view of Allison. Despite the fact that we watched 4 seasons worth of her being a disgusting person to everyone in town and contributing to a lot of the trauma and abuse her friends experienced both before and after she's gone missing. And despite not seeing any real character growth or improvement of her behavior right after she returns. Now, I know I can be a simp for Mean Girls, so let an awful girl experience a bad day, then I'm gonna want to embrace them with care, love, and support. But that shouldn't be the case. That someone could be a terrible person to others, but when something bad happens to them, they're excused of all their bad and painted as being this angel. Now, I'm not saying that this was any of these show writers' intentions when it came to writing these characters or storylines. What I'm more so trying to say is that using a traumatic event to get viewers to view a unlikable character in a more positive light isn't as effective as actually showcasing complexities of said character that will help viewers to see them as being more than just that mean girl role. That's not to say that the trauma can't help to give us that view of being complex characters, because it very much can. But it's also putting in the work to showcase the growth in their development even after said trauma. Long story short, don't rely solely on trauma to make an unlikable character likable, rather than just writing a full-fledged character. As I stated before, we love being able to humanize and relate and understand the Mean Girls, so nothing compares to those moments of development and growth within them. Another one of my favorite Mean Girls from Degrassi is Paige Michael Chuck, who started off being shown as this mean, stuck-up, self-centered queen bee, but to then see these glimpses of her being human and having values and morals and traits beyond just being mean. Like, despite contributing and egging on to the bullying of JT by Spinner, she knew when it was going too far and sympathized with him. Or when she went out her way to reach out to get help for Ellie when she discovered that Ellie was self-harming, despite them being rivals and literally competing against each other for the same co-op job position. And the instance with Ellie was after Paige had already been SA'd as well. The writers then just used the trauma as a way to progress her character. Even after that, we repeatedly see the growth of Paige season by season that made many fans fall in love with her, including myself. Now this brings me to my last question, which is, will a Mean Girl character type / trope ever die out? Or is it a crucial aspect of these stories that revolve around the teenage and young adult experience that this character type needs to be showcased and portrayed? I personally am not up to date with a lot of the current YA drama series. Like, I still need to start Generation, We Are Who We Are, The Sex Lives of College Girls, All American, Heartbreak High, The Pretty Little Liars reboot, Original Sin. I think I've got Outer Banks on my list too. Like, I literally have a watch list. Don't judge me. I'm so behind on these shows. No shade, I still haven't even finished Grand Army, child. I think the most recent YA drama I've seen is Sex Education, which finished in 2023. I'm also caught up on Yellow Jackets and waiting for season 3. I did think about grouping Jackie in as a mean girl, but I don't think that's very fitting. I feel like she's more of a it girl than a mean girl. Same with Maddie from Euphoria and Michelle from Skins. But anyways, on to the point. I'm not caught up on the most recent current ones, but I don't think the Mean Girl trope will ever die out. Mean Girls provide conflict. They provide the drama. They contribute largely to the entertainment. Like, imagine Sex Education without Ruby and Olivia. Imagine Glee without Santana and Quinn. Imagine if we never got the most iconic rivalry in Degrassi history with Paige and Manny that stemmed from Paige just being her mean girl self. There's a reason why it's such a commonly used trope. It's effective and entertaining. With that being said, I don't think it's a crucial, or should I say necessary, character type to have. Euphoria, which is centered around a group of high schoolers in their day-to-day lives, doesn't utilize the mean girl trope, and it still works. And there's probably many other examples of this being the case with other current shows of similar nature. Have we gone past the point of needing to rely on mean girls? Probably, but I truly don't believe it'll ever go out of style. Another one of my favorite content creators on here, Cheyenne Lynn, has a video named Mean Girls Media and the Anti-Feminism of the 2000s that kind of correlate to my point, but also I want to have an excuse to recommend her videos to anyone that may not know them. So I'm going to put that link in my bio or the comments as well. But maybe I'm biased because I personally enjoy me a mean girl. But y'all let me know in the comments which I think, if we've progressed as a society where we don't need mean girl characters anymore or not. Do you yourself enjoy a good mean girl character, and if so, who's your favorite? So this video is damn near over. This next part is just going to be me talking about mean girls who I hadn't gotten a chance to fit in anywhere else in this video. So I just want to say one last time, if you enjoyed this video, consider dropping a like, comment, possibly subscribe. Let me know y'all opinions, whether you agree or disagree. I just love discussing with people in the comments, even if it may take me some time to actually get back to all of my comments. But back to me rambling. So for Degrassi, because I just have to talk about Degrassi always, I feel like they had a couple of girlies who could easily be considered as mean girls / queen bees who just doesn't amongst the fandom for some reason. And I'm not referring to Marisol, because sis is a confirmed queen bee for her era of the show, despite the lack of appreciation and acknowledgement. Fiona could have easily been one, but kind of tamed herself and fell more in line of being the right-hand woman for the actual head mean girl, which was Holly J. And same for Katie with Marisol. But one who truly deserves the title of head mean girl is SMA. Like, she really would eat up any and everybody. Plus, she came in and brought the drama and conflict around the time that Zoe was chilling out on her antics and was exiting her Queen Bee era. Kitty from Glee had a pretty well done redemption arc. I went from being disgusted by her antics for her first season to adoring her by the last. The writers deciding to have Kitty be the only member of the second set of New Direction kids to actually come back and continue starring in the show was one of the best decisions they could have made in regards to the show, in my opinion. Unpopular opinion, but Minnie from the third generation of Skins was a better mean girl than Katie from the second gen. I love both of my girls, but in regards to being better for the mean girl role, Miss Minnie is taking it. She could get absolutely vile and nasty, and she kind of stood 10 tones down on that shit too. Like, I don't know, Minnie's meanness felt more natural than Katie's. And like I said, I love both of my girls, no shade, but two of the instances where Katie tried to have an iconic mean queen bee moment both ended with her getting her ass beat by her twin / my beloved Emily, and by Effie, who was having a whole bad trip when Katie attacked her. Still love my girl though, and her character arc. I gotta give some more props to our black queen bees like Prudence from the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina and Monet from the Gossip Girl reboot, who was my personal saving grace from that reboot child. And this is coming from someone who hasn't even watched nor been a fan of the original Gossip Girl. But yeah, the few black mean girls like Marisol from Degrassi don't get that special fan treatment that their white counterparts get. Because when it's a white blonde, she's iconic and queeny. But then when it's a black girl, they're bitchy and bullies. But I digress. That double standard could be a whole other video on its own, child. Cheryl was a fun mean girl, like classic, despite being cringe at times. But genuinely, that could be said about the entire show, period. The Heathers were great and evilly mean. I love a mean girl group and seeing their dynamics with each other and who ranks over the other. Of course, like the classic and actual Mean Girls movie, couldn't make a video about Mean Girls without referencing the plastics. Other favorites being the Ashleys from Recess, the Chanels from Scream Queens were good too. Madison from the Coven season of American Horror Story was a mean girl that grew on me after seeing her trauma and personal struggles. Emma Roberts know how to play a real good mean girl, huh? Child, I wonder why. But anyways, before I go there, let me go ahead and end it here. If you made it this far into the video, I greatly appreciate you. I hope you enjoyed. But yeah, until next time, hope y'all have a great week. Peace.